todos. Ninho de Santané, desceu Aurobindo. Let us all try to be worthy of Aurobindo's centenary.
Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, "Grant, O Lord, that I may be like a fire that illumines and gives warmth, like a spring of water that quenches thirst, like a tree that shelters and protects." Men are so unhappy and ignorant and have so great a need of help. My trust in Thee, the certitude within me, grow deeper day by day. And day by day too I feel Thy love and more ardent within my heart, Thy light more brilliant and yet also more sweet. And more am I unable to distinguish Thy work from my life and my individual being from the entire earth. O Lord, Lord, Thy splendor is infinite. Marvelous is thy truth, and thy all powerful love shall save the world. With my love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, taken from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, Letters on Yoga, topic Rebirth. Our Lord continues to say, you must avoid a common popular blunder about reincarnation. The popular idea is that Titus Balbus is born again as John Smith. A man with the same personality, character, attains as he had in his former life, with the sole difference that he wears coat and trousers instead of toga and speaks in Cockney English instead of popular Latin. That is not the case. What would be the earthly use of repeating the same personality or character a million times from the beginning of time till its end? The soul comes into birth for experience, for growth, for evolution, till it can bring the divine into matter. It is the central being that reincarnates, not the outer personality. The personality is simply a mold that it creates for its figures of experience in that one life. In another rebirth, it will create for itself a different personality, different capacity, different life and career. Supposing Virgil is born again, he may take up poetry in 1 or 2 lives, but he will certainly not write an epic, but rather perhaps slight but elegant, beautiful lyrics such he wanted to write, but did not succeed in Rome. In another birth, he may likely be not a poet at all, but a philosopher and a yogin seeking to attain, express the higher truth, for that too was an unrealized trend of his consciousness in that life. Perhaps before he had been a warrior or ruler, doing deeds like the Augustus before he sang them, and so on this side, or that the central being develops a new character, new personality, grows, develops, passes through all kinds of terrestrial experience. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, as the evolving being develops still more and becomes more rich and complex, it accumulates its personality as it were. Sometimes they stand behind the active elements, throwing in some color, trait, capacity, or they stand in front, multiple personalities, a many-sided character, looks like a universal capacity, but if a former personality capacity is brought fully forward, it will not be to repeat what was already done, but to cast the same capacity into new forms, shapes, and fuse it into a new harmony of the being, which will not be a reproduction of what was before. Thus, you must not expect to be what the warrior and the poet were. Something of the outer characteristics may reappear, but very much change, a new cast and a new combination. It is a new direction that the energies will be guided to do what was to be done before or what was not done before. Another thing, says our Lord, it is not the personality, the character that is of the first importance in rebirth. It is the psychic being who stands behind the evolution of the nature and evolves with it. The psychic, when it departs from the body, shedding even the mental vital on its own way to its resting place, carries with it the heart of its experiences, not the physical events, not the vital moments, not the mental buildings, not the capacities or the characters, but something essential that it gathered from them, what might be called the divine element, for the sake of which the rest existed. That is the permanent addition. It is that helps in the growth towards the divine. That is why there is usually no memory of the outward events and circumstances of past lives. For this memory, there must be a strong development towards unbroken continuation of the mind, vital, even the subtle physical. For though it all remains in a kind of seed memory, it does not ordinarily emerge. What was the divine element in the magnanimity of the warrior, that which expressed itself in his loyalty, nobility, high courage, was the divine element behind the harmonious mentality and generous vitality of the poet, and express itself in them that remains in a new harmony of character with a new expression, or if the life is turned towards the divine, be taken up as powers for the realization or for the work that has to be done for the divine, says out loud. And Lord continues to say about the psychic's choice and the conditions for rebirth, and says, the psychic being at the time of death chooses what it will work out in the next birth and determines the character and the conditions of the new personality. Life is for the evolutionary growth by experience in the conditions of the ignorance till one is ready for the higher light. The dying wish of the man is only something on the surface. It may be determined by the psychic and so to shape the future, but it does not determine the psychic's choice. That is something behind the wheel. It is not the outer consciousness action that determines the inner process, but the other way round. Sometimes, however, there are signs or fragments of the inner action that may come up on the surface, or, for example, some people have a vision or the remembrance of the circumstances of the past in a panoramic flash at the time of death. That is the psychic's review of life before departing. And Lord Aurobindo says, the psychic being's choice at the time of death does not work out the next formation of personality, it fixes it. When it enters the psychic world, it begins to assimilate the essence of its experience, and by that assimilation is formed the future psychic personality in accordance with the fixation already made. When this assimilation is over, it is ready for a new birth. But the less developed beings do not work out the whole thing for themselves. These are the beings and forces of the higher world who have that work. Also, when it comes to birth, it is not sure that the forces of the physical world will not come across the working of what it wanted. Its own new instrumentation may not be strong enough for that purpose, for there is the interaction of its own energies and the cosmic forces here. And Lord Aurobindo says, there may be frustration, diversion, a partial working out, many things may happen. All that is not a rigid machinery, it is a working out of the complex forces. It may be added, however, that a developed psychic being is much more conscious in this transition and works out much of itself. The time depends on the development and on a certain rhythm of the being. For some, there is practically immediate rebirth. For others, it takes longer. For some, it may take centuries. But here again, once the psychic being is sufficiently developed, It is free to choose its own rhythm and its own intervals.
Thy touch grant that we come out greater and purer from the ordeal. Seigneur, tu as voulu juger de la qualité de notre foi et baser notre sincérité sur ta pierre de touche. Permets que nous sortions de l'épreuve grandis et purifiés. सर्वस्तरदुर्गानि सर्वो भद्राणि पश्यतु सर्वः सद्बुद्धिमाप्नोतु सर्वः सर्वत्र नन्दतु सर्वेत्र सुखिनः सन्तु सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात्। ॐ नमो भगवते माहेश्वरी स्वाहा। एतत् पाद्यं श्रीमीरायै नमः। Namaha.